A nationwide warranty, 36 months or 36,000 miles, whichever comes first. Pals looks forward to servicing you and servicing your vehicle. 352-414-2984.
WOCA.
Howdy, folks. RL here for Dairy Queen again to tell you about what's hot and what's not. Dairy Queen has some of the best char-grilled chicken breasts on earth, as well as their chicken breast salad. And the burgers are exceptional, cooked on a real grill for the best flavor and less fat. And for dessert, blizzards are unequaled. Personally, banana split is my all-time favorite. Dairy Queen Silver Springs, where we always treat you like kings and queens.
Conservative Joe Harding. He's pro-life and A-rated by the NRA. Joe Harding will help stop sanctuary cities for illegal immigrants and stand with President Trump on bringing jobs back from China.
This is Joe Harding. Radical socialists are tearing down America. You can count on me to support law enforcement, our Constitution, and our president.
Joe Harding, endorsed by 2 sheriffs, law enforcement, firefighters, and State Representative Stan McClain. Paid by Joe Harding, Republican for State Representative.
Need help at home? On Wednesday, August 12th at 8:50 a.m., Jim Haskins with Touching Hearts at Home will be Adam's guest. You will learn how to compassionate care.
Well, frankly, folks, the garden deals at Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens are so good this week. The best thing to do is go to bobwinescamelliagardens.net and check them out for yourself. Bob has crepe myrtles, now just $3.99. All summer succulents, 50% off. Get a whole big tray of 18 summer blooming annuals, just $18.99. All blooming and foliage hanging baskets are buy one, get one at half price. Button gardenia, buy one, get one free. And all chimes, pottery, indoor foliage, and more in the old-timey greenhouse are reduced 10 to 20%. And of course, all shade trees, buy one, get one at half price. Get on over any day this week, but come early for the best selection on the best deals at Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens, Southeast 38th Street, Ocala, just east of Lake Weir, in the same blooming place since 1952.
Come and join the Marion County Search and Rescue on August 15th at AMF Galaxy East. This is a fundraiser to support this all-volunteer community organization. It's open to everyone. No scratch games, no handicap. Just lots of fun for a great cause. The cost is $25 per person. It's a 40-frame game. There will be a 50-50 raffle and prizes. Cash award will be given to the top 3 bowlers. Again, that's August the 15th at Galaxy East. Walk-ins welcome, but early registration is recommended. Contact Galaxy East for more information and register. 352-694-1111.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source. WOCA.
Turning out to be partly sunny for the day today with a high 89 to 93. For tonight, a shower or thunderstorm spots for the evening, otherwise partly cloudy, low 74 to 76. Mostly cloudy Thursday with a thunderstorm in parts of the area in the afternoon, high 91 to 93. Friday, clouds and sun with widely separated thunderstorms in the afternoon, high 90 to 94. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Kevin Snyder.
The Centers and Beacon Point in Marion County provide treatment and medication therapy for opium addiction, life skills, case management, and access to resources. Call 352-291-5555.
Welcome back to the show as you're listening to AIM Ocala Live, WOCA, The Source, 96.3 FM, 1370 AM. Hey, do you know where we're broadcasting from? I say it every day. I say it every break. Broadcasting to you live from the Paddock Mall. We're streaming live, YouTube Live, WOCA, The Source Radio, as it's now time for this Wednesday to round out our show here for the last half hour. We welcome in the studio Embrace Magazine and the Embrace Magazine radio show. And I'm going to turn it over to John Sotomayor. Welcome, partner. Glad to have you in here. Yep.
Oh, thank you very much, Adam. It's great to be here again.
Absolutely. Well, I'll leave it to you because I know you got some talking points to get to. You got some guests here in the studio.
Yes.
So I'll leave it to you, my
We got
friend.
a lot to cover because we have a huge magazine that has a lot of things to say for the community.
Yeah.
We have a broad, diverse spectrum here, so I'll get right to it. We have some guests here for our magazine. I'm not sure if they've called in yet, but it's Donna Davis and her wife, Norma Anderson.
We should have them on the phone. We guys got you. You still there?
Yes, we're here.
There they are.
Hi, Donna. Hi, Norma.
Hi, John. How are you today?
Good, thanks. Thank you for being on the show. Donna is an RN who has worked on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic in New York City, and she's currently working in South Florida, helping there. And as a married couple, Donna and Norma own and operate the Your Phoenix is Rising, that group. And in studio here we have Carlos Nieto, agent with ASB Financial Ocala. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning. He's an ally of the LGBTQ community. And we also have Sarah Geza. She's a writer for Embrace magazine. Sarah has been published with numerous publications around the nation. She's currently working on her master's in social work while also participating at the University of Pennsylvania's program Executive Leadership Strategy for Violence and Abuse Prevention. Welcome, Sarah.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So the reason why we have these guests on the show is to educate the community at large. Embrace magazine is approaching its second issue. We had our premiere issue in May 2020. And the mission of our magazine is to present stories of gay and straight people, communities coming together to live, work, play, and pray. And we're based here in Ocala. The publication is my publication through Summer Media Creations, LLC. It's a lifestyle publication that's appealing to both the LGBTQ and the straight communities through its content. And since its premiere of a couple of months ago, it has been read in the digital format in 11 countries in 6 continents.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so North and South America, Europe, Asia, Russia, Africa, and Australia.
Oh, wow.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So we're on a roll. So I will allow you to go ahead and ask the questions to our guests if you want. If you want to begin with Donna and Norma.
Where do you want me to start, partner?
Well, we have Donna and Norma who will be featured on the front lines in the second issue, and that will be a look at the LGBTQ medical professionals working the long hours on the COVID-19 patients.
Mm-hmm. Now, with that, ladies, was it, I guess in a way, a lot of people down here in Florida, and now that you are here in Florida, were kind of misunderstood about what was going on up in New York. And if you guys were on the front lines there, what can you tell us about what was, in your perspective, going on up there in New York at the time?
The biggest thing was that nobody was prepared. The hospitals in New York were not prepared for the onslaught that happened with all the patients that came in because of COVID-19. And because New York is so a highly dense population, you had a lot of people living together in close quarters. Mm-hmm. So you have somebody who thought, oh, I have a cold, or it's just a bug, and then they stayed home for way too long. And then before you know it was a situation. And now they're rushed to the hospital. It's too late, and we're frantically trying to reverse the damage, which is then ARDS, which is acute respiratory distress, and then it just spiraled out of control. Mm-hmm. And they just did not have the numbers because, of course, their staff also was getting sick before anybody knew what this thing was. Their staff was not properly PPE'd to deal with it because nobody knew it was coming. And then before you know it, it was just chaos.
All right. Right now, has it evened out? Has it kind of, in lieu of flattened a curve up there now since?
Yes, absolutely. So Governor DeSantis, Governor Andrew Cuomo, was actually very instrumental in calling out for getting what we had were waves and waves of nurses and RTs and PAs and NPs that showed up and tackled this thing. A lot of people with ICU experience, and they came in with all that knowledge and taught the staff and what they knew from what they had seen, plus the knowledge from the New York staff, plus just lifting the burden. It was just so many patients with very limited staff, so that's how they were able to do it.
Gotcha.
We went from having 6 patients, or 5 patients in the ICU to now having one-on-one, because some of those patients needed one-on-one. You just didn't have enough nurses. And then once we got all those nurses in, that's how we got to flatten the curve. And everybody else stayed home. Mm-hmm. So, all those little things that usually, people would run to the hospital for little things. They stayed home, they wore masks, they social distanced. It was everywhere. It was advertised everywhere, and everybody paid attention and actually did what they were supposed to do, and so that's how New York was able to tackle it.
Gotcha. And now being in South Florida, you've seen, which South Florida being another kind of a hot spot as the resurgence of COVID. So in a way, you guys brought some of the experience and everything that you dealt with in New York and probably were able to execute things better with your experiences that you had bringing it to South Florida.
Absolutely. So what I do now is I do testing and education. So instead of being bedside, I am on the front lines at the very beginning of it saying, hey, okay, you have symptoms. Before it becomes a situation, this is how you deal with it. This is how you social distance. If you think you've been in contact with somebody, close contact, go ahead and stay home and just make sure that your body is able to build up resistance to it. And for those people who are vulnerable, there's some people who don't have any symptoms at all, and their bodies handle it, but then they might give it to someone who's vulnerable. So it's not about the everyday person. It's about the vulnerable person, and we're all keeping those vulnerable people safe.
Absolutely. Just to turn it to a positive note after, what you guys have been through too, but and the idea of the magazine with you were published in the premiere issue, and the idea of your love story, Soulmates, and it was the highlight, and then and the idea of your involvement with a spiritual center and how you helped raise teenage boys who were friends with their children and then needed to help with their parents' permission. You want to talk a little bit about that as you were in the premiere issue of Embrace?
Well, I was so honored to be in it.
I think we just it was a whirlwind effect for us. One kid asked us, could he move in, and we went through that whole situation with his parents. The next thing we knew, he had 6 of them. Asked us all the time, how did we do it? And it wasn't about us. We just laid it over to Spirit, and everything was taken care of.
And those kids were just so much fun and absolutely incredible and respectful, so they made it so easy on us.
Yeah, they were labeled as problem children and children no future, whatever, and I would like to think that a lot of our influence, helped them to become the men that they are now, because they're all thriving men of the society.
Can I interject over here?
Absolutely.
It was Donna and Norma's story in the premiere issue that served as the inspiration to the Heroes issue, which is the second issue. The second issue is Heroes in the LGBTQ community. That's why we're focusing on the medical community helping in the COVID-19 pandemic. We're also doing a story on the peaceful protests regarding the Black Lives Matter. We have different people talking about that. Sarah's going to talk a little later about the local LGBTQ leaders, people in our North Central Florida who are doing things for the community. But it was their story and how they came to the aid of these kids that served as the inspiration. And again, towards the mission of the magazine, gay and straight communities working together, the biological parents, knowing who Norma and Donna were okay with leaving their kids with them because they saw the kind of upbringing they're bringing to their own children.
Sure.
Yeah, and the involvement with the spiritual center and how important it was to instill discipline in these young people's lives to make sure they don't go directionless.
Right.
So they, to me, Donna and Norma are just pillars of the community, people to be admired and emulated, and I'm so delightful that they have been part of this issue and the last. So
absolutely. Well, thank you, ladies, very much. John, did you want to move on to the next topic there?
Yes. In line with the medical professionals, I'd like Carlos to talk about the services that he provides through his business, because one of the things I've gotten to learn through Carlos is that they provide services that are particularly useful to the LGBTQ community, in particular some of those most neglected or hardest hit. So I'll go ahead and let Carlos talk about his specialties.
All right. Thank you. Donna and Norma, I wanted to thank you for stepping up first off, and doing what y'all do, because that's got to be super tough and super rough. So that's awesome. I want to commend you for that as well. My name is Carlos Nieto with ASP Financial, and what we do is I like to say I protect families, I protect individuals. I'm an insurance broker here in Florida. I'm actually licensed in quite a few different states, but what I specialize in is assisting people with life insurance. I do Medicare, retirement planning, long-term care, different incidental types of insurance. But my biggest thing is I'm what I like to call myself a life insurance nerd or a life insurance geek. When I first started in the business, I was frustrated when I had to leave clients' homes and not being able to help them, and I didn't like that. My brother passed away at 32, and he didn't have life insurance. So he had an 8-year-old daughter, my niece, and my parents have done everything to help raise her and such. So I was like, you know what? There's got to be other ways for me to help people.
Yeah.
And what I particularly love, again, is that I'm able to leave at home, no matter what, being able to help everybody. And as far as some of the concerns in the community and the LGBTQ community, I can get folks covered. I have coverages for people with HIV. Which is huge because 90% of the companies out there will not even consider anybody. They won't look that way, absolutely. And unfortunately, because of the history of the disease and the virus and just what historically has happened, of course, in the long run. But I pride myself in that. I pride myself in being able to protect anybody and everybody when it comes to that. And with my Medicare plans, retirement planning, none of those things really matter. A lot of them, depending on what we're going, health is not really an issue. But for the life insurance, I know a lot of people, when they have certain medical concerns or certain lifestyle concerns, as well, they feel like they don't have anybody that can help them. They may feel judged. Again, I'm an ally, so I love knowing that I can help anybody and everybody. I have quite a few friends, actually, that are in the community that are HIV positive that I was blessed to be able to help them. And I love what I do because I can take care of anybody and everybody. From 15 days old to 89 years old, I can get anybody protected with life insurance. And I pride myself in that.
Yeah, awesome. Excellent. And with that being said, thank you, Carlos. Did you want to move on with Sarah here as we keep our time? I know you want to get everybody in.
Absolutely. I would love Sarah to talk about some of the work she's done in our premiere issue because a lot of people don't know how valuable these exclusive interviews are, and to get it in the first run issue of a magazine is extraordinary.
There's a big one in here.
There sure is.
Obviously, things were different with the way that everything with the political spectrum worked itself out, COVID and all that stuff. But this is a big one here.
This is a big one. I'll premise it by saying that she got an interview with openly Democratic gay candidate Pete Buttigieg in our story called President for President, Pete Buttigieg. And it was the final interview that he had given before dropping out of the election. So after months and months of working together with the Pete for America campaign and their manager in Florida, which we have to give a shout out to them, thank you so much for their help in that and assistance getting the story. But Sarah was able to get the story in. And I think it was 9 days after the interview when he dropped out.
Yeah, somewhere around 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Sarah, why don't you tell the story about that?
First of all, that was an amazing experience, but it took a lot of tenacity to not give up, because when you're dealing with an interview of that caliber and someone who is that much in the public eye, you can obviously gauge how busy their schedule is.
Sure.
So I was just working with Maricel, who was in charge of his PR for Florida State, just constant emails, like almost every day following up, like, can we do this? Can we make this happen? Can we make this happen? And then she was lovely to work with. And in the end, probably anyone else would have given up. They would have just stopped after like the 5th try, the 10th try. I don't even know. For weeks and weeks and like a month and a half, I just kept at it until I got it done.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And I was so happy to be able to do that. I think he had a lot of amazing talking points, a lot of things that would be inspirational for youth coming up who perhaps have always wanted to be involved in politics, or but feared that their orientation would somehow be used against them. So I think that he and himself is very inspirational to a lot of people who want to get involved but fear that they would be like held back based on orientation. And to get that for the magazine, I was very proud to do. And I'm just shout out to John for even creating this magazine, because we know it's the first and only in the area, and it is so needed. So I'm hoping that this is showcasing forward movement to our community, progressing and evolving and us coming together more.
Right.
Absolutely. Thank you.
The true definition of community.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And it was Sarah's work with Pete Buttigieg and other stories that she worked on that made me think she was the ideal person to write our local LGBTQ leaders profiles. And if Sarah would talk about a couple of those, we had 7 different people profiled in there. Of course, we don't have time for all 7.
Sure, but that's
highlight a couple of those too.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to talk. This assignment on local LGBTQ leaders has been so inspirational for me, and I hope it will be for our readers as well. We cover all of our surrounding areas: Ocala, Gainesville, Citrus, Lake County, the villages. We have someone from every area that are really stepping up and making a difference. I could write pages upon pages on every individual I profiled because they've all had very eventful lives, very impactful lives. But a few that kind of stand out would be Brandon Wolfe from Orlando. I'm not going to give any spoiler alerts, but I'll just say that he never imagined a life in politics until 4 years ago after Pulse. And since then, he is not only working with Equality Florida, he has founded the Drew Project, which works for gun violence prevention, as well as providing opportunities for our youth. And in the 4 years since he founded it, they have provided $65,000 in scholarships for students so they can go to college for our future leaders to get an education. Also I'm impressed with all of them, but also Don Smith Lopez in Gainesville, the work that he did to ban conversion therapy. I mean, not only in the city, but in the county. The city itself is fairly progressive.
Right.
But the county itself is quite small and rural compared to other counties. And they managed to do this at a time when the only place that had passed banning conversion therapy were major cities, and nothing had been passed in northern Florida. They were the first in the central northern Florida to get it passed in a county that is relatively small and rural compared to most others. But I think the common thing with all of the people profiled is just that they saw a need and they stepped up to fill it.
Right.
And it's all volunteer-based. None of them are turning a profit on doing it.
Yeah.
They are doing the right thing simply because it is the right thing to do.
Yeah. And then because they want to do that and they want to see the change.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Incredible.
Excellent work.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do at this point is, I know we have it's radio, but we also have podcast viewers. I'm going to showcase the magazine cover there so those who are watching our show can see what the magazine looks like.
Yeah.
And we do have a limited print, so if people would like copies, they can contact me. My email address is john@sotomayormedia.com. You can also find me on Facebook and make your request there. What I'm doing right now with the print copies is going to our marketing and distribution. I'm getting more awareness out there.
Sure.
So that's what mostly the copies are used for. But I want to get it out to the community too. So people who want to help promote the magazine and share with their friends, that's what we're looking for.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah.
And this is the first issue.
Yes,
yeah.
That's right.
Do you plan on, because this is there is a lot of content in here and everything that you guys spoke of, that's phenomenal. Do you kind of see yourselves keeping, because I know sometimes the first issue is to try to get everything out there and everything else, and with the thickness of this magazine and everything else that's the content in there, do you try to keep that? Is that the idea and the foundation of what you want to keep for each magazine that comes out?
Yes, it is.
Each issue.
Yes, it is. We were talking about this outside in the lobby earlier. It actually grew from a 60-page magazine to 114. Yeah. So the content just kept coming. Once people saw what we were doing, we'd like to share this story and that story, and it just grew and grew, and the interest. And so my first magazine, Elevate, I had to keep as an annual. This one was going to start out that way as well, but the interest was just so there, and the advertisers were coming in with their beautiful ads. You don't mind me saying, we have a BMW of Ocala, Porsche of Ocala, Volkswagen of Ocala, Gold's Gym of Ocala represented here. We also have Christian Al's hair care products from Dallas, Texas. We have Pop Wrapped Entertainment from Los Angeles. And, that's just the beginning. We're having more interest coming in every day. I have another company from Los Angeles approached me with jewelry that they want to promote. Yeah. So this has a lot of potential for growth. I want to focus it on a local area, but as well extended on a greater reach. And so content-wise, this is the size I would like to fill, but of course I'd love to fill this with more ad pages. So
Exactly.
have that grow that way.
Now, with just a couple minutes left, partner,
yes,
I just want to throw it out there as this is the first issue, and this is something that you've got involved with. My big question is, what made you see this needing to happen here in this area? What was it? What was the inclination?
Absolutely. Well, as we said, we have a broad spectrum of people, how they identify themselves. I can say I identify as gay, and we have other people identify as lesbian or bisexual. Mm-hmm. We have within our community transgender and all that, but there is no platform for anyone to share their ideas. And this first actually came out when I was the editor for another local lifestyle publication. The publisher said in a staff meeting one day, why don't we talk about gay life in Ocala? It's never been done before. And at the time it was going to be a filler story for another story that dropped out. And I thought about it for a second. I said, yeah, I'd really like to cover that topic, but I don't think we should do it as a filler. I think we should spend adequate amount of time, 3 months or so, to prepare this properly.
Yeah.
And she agreed. And so having given that green light, I went for it. And I thought, what is Ocala Marion County all about? And to me, it was faith and families.
Yeah.
So that's the angle that I took. And that's actually how I first met Donna and Norma. And we did the spiritual story and how they help the kids.
And which is a common, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a common foundational item for everybody in Ocala. You hit on things that everybody resonates with.
Right, exactly.
Regardless of where you come from.
But people may not normally see that. That's what my point is. You know, so their scope is not that inclusive to everybody. So that was my general focus of why I did it.
Excellent, excellent, partner. Well, we appreciate it as we've now come to the top of the 11 o'clock hour, as that'll wrap up our first ever Embrace Magazine radio show that we look forward to having you guys back and continuing this. So a lot of good stuff. John Sotomayor,
Thank you. May I add one quick thing, because I am involved with the Ocala Pride Inc., and we do give the announcements. We just had our board meeting, and unfortunately, the Mr. and Mrs. Pride pageant that was scheduled for September will be postponed until April 2021. And our Pride Fest, which is scheduled for October 24th, will be postponed as well, but no further information is offered at this time.
And postponed in lieu of COVID, just like everything's been postponed.
Exactly.
The new normal,
yes.
Right? Absolutely. Well, we appreciate it very, very much. As we said, that'll do it for AM Ocala Live on this Wednesday, August 12th. As we had a good show for you. Look forward for Thursday. You guys know Thursday we got our Veterans News, which is a good thing to look forward to. And we're going to round out this week as we say thank you for listening. And until tomorrow, everybody, goodbye.
White House, Joe Biden selects California Senator Kamala Harris yesterday to be his running mate. And today, former National Security Advisor Susan Rice, who was also on his list, weighs in on his choice.
I'm very confident that the Biden-Harris ticket will be a winning one, which is what our country so needs right now. We have so much work to do to put our country back on track, to recover from this